Hi, my name is Ellen Groenwald. I'm a social worker here in Westchester County and also a mother of three. I've lived in Ossining for about 5 years, and it's very nice to meet you, Noam.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Ellen.
The reason that we're so interested in childcare is we feel like it's really makes a lot of smart sense for Westchester to invest in our children's futures. So I just had a couple of questions about childcare. Can you just tell me a little bit about your position on the importance of early childhood education?
Well, first of all, let me say how much I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you, Ellen. And I appreciate your commitment to an issue that's so important to tons of families here in Westchester. And we both approach this as parents, as well as citizens. We've had a chance, kids roughly the same age, yours a little younger than mine. But we both had a chance to see what a difference it can make in their lives when they have the right kind of enrichment in those early years.
Absolutely.
So I'm of the belief that the best kind of program is really one that enables people to be independent and be self-sufficient and stand on their own 2 feet and contribute to their families and their communities. And that's exactly what good childcare makes possible for lots of people of limited means, who need to know that their kids are in good hands so that they can hold on to a job. So I think it's critically important for the kids themselves, for the grown-ups, and for the fabric of our county as a whole.
Absolutely, thank you. What is your position on regarding publicly funded daycare subsidies?
Well, for just the reasons we were talking about, I think that providing child care assistance is one of the very best bets that we can make as a society. It's one of the best bets we can make as taxpayers. And here's the reason. If you enable people to work, then they can, of course, contribute to our economy as a whole and make sure that all of us are better off. And if you withdraw that support and say to parents who want to be independent that they're not going to have the assistance they need in order to afford childcare, many of them are going to end up on welfare, which is not only a disappointment for them because they want to not be reliant on others, but costs all of us more. And then, of course, what happens to the youngsters? All of the evidence we have tells us that the key time to provide enrichment is in those early childhood years. And the kind of support that you offer to kids then has an enormous impact on their entire lives. So if you're not providing that early assistance, you're going to have kids who show up in kindergarten less prepared to learn. And we'll all end up spending more on services K through 12. So whether you look at this as a matter of fairness or support for our neighbors, or whether you're looking at this just as a business decision, what makes sense for us fiscally, I think childcare is really a very important bet. And it's something that I think all of us have an interest in supporting in the right way.
Thank you. Do you think supporting a publicly funded child care subsidy would be a burden on Westchester County taxpayers?
I think it's exactly the reverse, just for the reasons we were talking about. And let's talk about what's happened recently in Westchester County, because I think it really illustrates the point. We had, until recently, what was widely regarded as one of the best systems of child care support anywhere in the country. And unfortunately, in the last few years, that's really been under assault. The Title 20 program, which is a federal program that the county had participated in, and which makes child care available to people between 200 and 275% of the poverty line. Now, just to put that in perspective, that's maybe $45,000, $50,000 a year for a family of 4, which we know in our region is just barely getting by. And so that program has been discontinued by the current administration. People who were already in it were grandfathered, but no one new can come into the program. And that means there are lots of folks who could really make use of this assistance who are not able to get it. And that's also a disincentive to work, by the way, because why would you want to get to 201% of poverty when you're entitled to some assistance at 199%? So it's the wrong incentive structure. And for people lower on the income scale, 100 to 200% of poverty, the amount of the parental contribution has increased dramatically, so that it means thousands of dollars more out of pocket from families who can least afford it. And so, not surprisingly, the number of people who are participating in the program has gone down. There are hundreds and hundreds of families who would otherwise be able to access this quality child care who can't do it now. And sometimes we hear this administration say, oh, well, the child care slots are up, as though that were a solution to the problem. And of course, that's entirely the wrong measure. That's like counting the attendance at a Met game by measuring the empty seats. The issue is not how many slots exist. The issue is how many of those slots are filled, and whether the families who need this kind of help are able to afford those slots. And that's why making sure that we have the right kind of investments in childcare is so critically important to all of us.
Absolutely, well, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to have this discussion with you, and the more I speak to others, I think people recognize we have a common interest in getting this right. And so I feel confident that working together, we can make sure we reverse some of the mistakes of the past and make the right decisions for the families that surround us in this community, and also make the right decisions for taxpayers, so that we know every penny is spent the right way in order to give us a strong economy where people can support themselves.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. It's a pleasure.
You too, thank you.
Cut.